Hello, everyone, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to explore a heartwarming story that proves some of life's most memorable moments come from the simplest acts of kindness. But here's the question. How did a fish caught by chance, a misunderstanding about a house fire, and an unexpected reunion lead to a dinner neither Hana nor Tuan would ever forget? Join us as we follow a touching evening filled with gratitude, friendship, laughter, and genuine human connection beneath the glow of a beautiful sunset. If you enjoy emotional and inspiring stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming videos. Now, let's dive into today's unforgettable story. The suggestion seemed simple, yet the moment Hana said it, the atmosphere changed. A warm feeling quietly settled between them, replacing the confusion and worry that had filled the afternoon only an hour earlier. Outside, the large snakehead fish continued roasting over the charcoal fire. The skin had already turned a beautiful golden color. Thin streams of fragrant smoke drifted upward into the evening sky. The aroma spread throughout the yard, making it impossible to ignore. Inside the house, Tuan looked toward the fish and then back at Hana. A smile slowly appeared on his face. The idea made perfect sense. There was more than enough food, and after everything that had happened during the day, sharing a meal together felt natural. Neither of them had planned for this, yet somehow it felt exactly right. "Let's do it," Tuan said. Hana nodded. The decision was made without hesitation. A simple dinner. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, just food, conversation, and a chance to enjoy the peaceful evening after a long day of work. The moment felt unexpectedly comforting. Together, they stepped outside. The sun had begun its slow descent toward the horizon. The harsh brightness of the afternoon had softened into warm golden light. Long shadows stretched across the yard. The air felt cooler now. The heat that had dominated the day was finally fading. Tuan returned his attention to the fish. The skin crackled gently over the charcoal. The smell was even better than before. Every few moments, he carefully turned it, making sure it cooked evenly. Nearby, Hana looked around the garden. A proper meal didn't require much. Just a few simple ingredients. Fresh ingredients, ingredients grown with care. Without saying much, she walked toward the small garden beside the house. The plants looked healthy despite the recent heat. Bright green leaves moved gently in the evening breeze. Hana crouched down and began searching. Within moments, she found several ripe red chilies. Perfect. She picked them carefully, then continued looking. Near the edge of the garden, she noticed a small lemon, still hanging from one of the branches. It wasn't large, but it was enough. She smiled and picked it. The meal was coming together naturally. Nothing expensive, nothing extravagant. Yet somehow, every ingredient felt valuable, because each one carried the effort of the people who had grown it. When Hana returned, Tuan had nearly finished grilling the fish. The golden color of the skin looked perfect. The smell alone was enough to make anyone hungry. For a moment, both of them simply admired it. The fish had traveled a long journey, from the ditch where Hana first spotted it, to the chase beneath the hot summer sun, to the surprise visit at Tuan's house, and finally here, ready to become dinner. The thought made Hana laugh softly. Earlier that afternoon, she had never imagined any of this. She certainly hadn't imagined running toward the house in panic because she thought it was on fire. The memory made her shake her head. Life could be unpredictable. Tuan noticed her expression. "What are you thinking about?" Hana laughed. "The smoke." Tuan immediately understood. A grin appeared on his face. "I don't think you'll forget that anytime soon." "Probably not." Both of them laughed. The tension that had existed earlier was completely gone now. In its place was something far more comfortable, a sense of familiarity, the kind that develops naturally between people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. Soon, everything was ready. The fish was transferred onto a serving tray. The corn Hana had mentioned earlier was prepared. The chilies and lemon were arranged beside it. A small bowl of salt completed the meal. Simple, traditional, perfect. As the final rays of sunlight painted the village in shades of gold and orange, they sat down together. The meal before them would not impress anyone looking for luxury. There were no expensive dishes, no elaborate decorations, no special occasion being celebrated. Yet somehow, the table felt rich, because every item carried a story. The fish represented Hana's hard work. The corn represented another day spent earning an honest living. The vegetables represented patience and care. And the gathering itself represented something neither had expected, a meaningful connection. For a moment, neither of them reached for the food. Instead, they simply appreciated the peaceful atmosphere surrounding them. The village had become quieter. Smoke rose from distant homes, where other families were preparing dinner. Birds called from nearby trees before settling for the night. The sky continued changing colors above them. Everything felt calm. Finally, Tuan picked up a piece of fish. Carefully, he placed it onto Hana's plate. "This part is the best." Hana immediately protested. "You should eat it." Tuan shook his head. "You caught the fish, but you cooked it." The discussion continued for a few seconds before both of them started laughing again. Eventually, Hana accepted the piece. The exchange was small, yet it revealed something important. Neither wanted to take more than the other. Both appreciated the effort that had gone into the meal, and both wanted the other person to enjoy it. That simple consideration made the evening feel even warmer. The first bite confirmed what they already suspected. The fish was delicious, fresh, tender, full of flavor. The smoky aroma blended perfectly with the lemon and chili. Every bite seemed better than the last. Hana looked genuinely impressed. "You really know how to grill fish." Tuan laughed. "The fish deserves most of the credit." "Not all of it." The compliment made him smile. As they continued eating, conversation flowed naturally. No one forced it. No one searched for topics. The discussion moved easily from one subject to another. The weather, the harvest, work at the market, life in the village. Simple things, ordinary things. Yet somehow, they never ran out of things to say. The sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon. The sky darkened. The golden light faded into soft shades of purple and blue. The evening became cooler, more peaceful, and as the meal continued, both of them realized something. The best part of the evening wasn't the fish, it wasn't the corn, it wasn't even the beautiful sunset. It was the company, the unexpected chance to sit together after a long day and enjoy a moment free from worry. A moment that neither had planned, yet both would remember long after the evening ended. The evening continued long after the sun disappeared beyond the horizon. Darkness slowly settled over the village, but neither Hana nor Tuan seemed eager to end the moment. The meal was nearly finished. Only a few pieces of fish remained. The corn had almost disappeared. The bowl of salt, mixed with lemon and chili, sat nearly empty between them. Yet the conversation continued effortlessly. The cool evening air drifted through the yard. Somewhere in the distance, crickets began their nightly chorus. The sounds of village life gradually faded as families retreated indoors. Everything felt calm, peaceful. For the first time all day, neither of them seemed rushed. There was no work waiting, no deadlines, no urgent responsibilities demanding attention. Just a quiet evening and good company. Tuan leaned back slightly and looked across the yard. The charcoal fire had almost burned out. Only a few glowing embers remained. The soft orange light flickered gently in the darkness. "It's been a long day," he said. Hana nodded. A very long day. Thinking back, the day almost felt unreal. So much had happened. The early morning work, the heat, the fish, the trip to Tuan's house, the misunderstanding about the smoke. And now, this unexpected dinner. None of it had been planned, yet somehow every event had led them here, to this quiet moment, to this simple meal, to this peaceful ending. Hana looked toward the dark fields beyond the yard. The countryside seemed different at night, calmer, softer. The worries of the day appeared less important beneath the evening sky. For a moment, she simply listened, the wind moving through the trees, the distant sounds of insects, the gentle crackling of the dying charcoal. Everything felt strangely comforting. Tuan seemed to be enjoying the silence as well. Not the uncomfortable kind of silence, but the kind that only exists between people who feel at ease around one another. Eventually, Hana smiled. "You know, when I left home this morning, I never imagined I'd end the day eating fish here." Tuan laughed. "Neither did I." The honesty of the statement made both of them smile. It was true. The entire evening existed because of a series of unexpected events. A fish that happened to appear in a ditch, a decision to share it, a locked gate, a misunderstanding involving smoke. Any one of those things could have changed the outcome completely. Yet somehow everything had unfolded exactly this way, and neither regretted it. The conversation gradually slowed, not because they had nothing left to say, but because the evening itself felt complete. The meal had been enjoyed, the stories had been shared, the laughter had come naturally. Nothing more was needed. For a few minutes, they simply sat together, appreciating the peaceful atmosphere around them. The village lights glowed faintly in the distance. Stars slowly appeared overhead. The night sky stretched endlessly above the countryside. It was beautiful in its simplicity. Hana found herself feeling grateful. Not because of the food, not because of the fish, but because of the people who crossed her path and treated her with kindness. Life had not always been easy. There had been difficult days, lonely days, days filled with uncertainty. Yet moments like this reminded her that goodness still existed. Sometimes it appeared in small ways: a helping hand, a shared meal, a thoughtful conversation. Simple things, but meaningful things. Across the table, Tuan was thinking about the day as well. He glanced at the empty tray where the fish had once rested. Earlier that afternoon, he had been focused entirely on work. The day seemed ordinary, predictable, nothing special. Then he came home and discovered Hana waiting outside, a gift he never expected, a misunderstanding that became a funny memory, and a dinner he would likely remember for a long time. The realization made him smile. Life had a way of surprising people when they least expected it. The night grew deeper. Eventually, both of them knew it was time to end the evening. Tomorrow would bring another day of work, another sunrise, another set of responsibilities. But neither seemed eager to stand up first. The moment felt worth holding on to for just a little longer. Finally, Hana rose from her seat. The movement signaled what both already knew. The evening had come to an end. Tuan stood as well. Together, they cleared away the remaining dishes. The task was simple, yet even that felt easier after the evening they had shared. When everything was finished, they stepped outside once more. The yard was quiet. The stars shone brightly overhead. A cool breeze passed through the trees. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Hana smiled. "Thank you for dinner." Tuan immediately shook his head. "I should be thanking you." They both laughed. Because in truth, neither felt entirely responsible for the evening. The fish had belonged to Hana. The cooking had belonged to Tuan. The conversation had belonged to both of them. The entire experience had been shared, and that was exactly what made it special. As Hana prepared to leave, she took one last look around the yard. Only hours earlier, she had rushed across it in panic, convinced the house was on fire. Now, the memory seemed almost unbelievable, yet it had led to this: a memorable evening, a meaningful conversation, and a friendship strengthened through simple acts of kindness. Sometimes the most important moments in life arrived quietly, without warning, without grand gestures, without dramatic declarations, just ordinary people sharing ordinary experiences. And somehow, those moments became the ones remembered most clearly. As Hana finally walked toward home, beneath the starlit sky, she carried a warm feeling with her. Not because of the meal, not because of the fish, but because the day had ended better than either of them could have imagined. A simple gift, an unexpected reunion, a dinner beneath the fading colors of sunset, and a memory that would remain long after the last piece of fish was gone. In this final episode, Hana and Tuan turn an unexpected meeting into a memorable evening together. After deciding to share the large fish Hana caught earlier that day, they prepare a simple dinner with grilled fish, fresh corn, lemon, and chilies from the garden. As the sun slowly sets over the village, the two sit down to enjoy their meal and talk about their daily lives, work, and future hopes. There are no grand promises or dramatic moments, only sincere conversation, mutual respect, and the comfort of spending time with someone they trust. Tuan insists on giving Hana the best pieces of fish, while Hana praises his cooking skills, creating a warm and cheerful atmosphere. As darkness falls and the evening comes to an end, both realize that the most meaningful moments often come from simple acts of kindness. What began as an ordinary day becomes a cherished memory neither of them will soon forget.